Ann Arbor Inclusive is produced in part with the Ann Arbor Commission on Disability Issues and CTN. The views and opinions expressed in the show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the Commission or CTN. For more information about the Commission on Disability Issues, visit a2gov.org/disability resources. If you have program topic suggestions, please email a2disabilityissues@gmail.com.
Hello, I'm Tom Holtland, and welcome back to Ann Arbor Inclusive, a program of the Ann Arbor Commission on Disability Issues. Using a wheelchair myself, I know the complexities of navigating our communities, and the unknown is a challenge for us. So people with disabilities traditionally have to do all the more research on where they're going to, whether it be in their local communities, a new community, or even travel. So I'm really excited to be talking to Megan Winters from Ableise, a company began in my hometown of Lansing, Michigan. So without further delay, let's bring Megan into the conversation. Welcome, Megan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So let's start out by maybe giving us a brief sentence or two on what Ableise does, but we're really interested in why you started Ableise and even how long it's been in the works.
Yeah, absolutely. So the quick explanation of what Ableise is it's a virtual tour hosting site and app. So think of it as the Yelp of virtual tours. So virtual tours being like what you see on Google Maps, where you can click through a space, or if you're house hunting and you can click through a house. We're doing that for public venues across the world to help people with both physical and invisible disabilities access their community and travel.
How about your inspiration and when you started this all from the very beginning?
Yeah. So the idea, my background is I was a special education teacher for many years. I worked in Jackson, Michigan. And so I taught students on the autism spectrum in particular. And one of the common characteristics for a person on the spectrum is difficulty with transitions, maybe stress going to new places, trying things for the first time, doing something that's out of routine can cause anxiety, can cause behaviors, which is stressful for everybody involved. And so I was just noticing that there was a need in the world that so many families that have children with disabilities are not having quality family experiences. They're not going to the movies, they're not going to restaurants, they're not traveling because of the stress involved of the unknown, as we were speaking to. And so it was during that time in the classroom that I saw a virtual tour for the first time. So I went back, and I believe it was 2011 that the idea actually sparked for me. I was at a conference in Chicago when I was a teacher. And again, that's where I saw a virtual tour for the first time. And I just remember thinking, this is it. Like, this is the thing that is going to change the world for so many people and create opportunities for so many people. And so I sat on the idea for many years. The other
As
part
we
of
all do.
Yeah. And the other part of this is that one of my best friends, Jessica had muscular dystrophy, and her and I lived together in college. We went to Central Michigan University. And so we were friends prior to living together in college, but living day in and day out with her was really eye-opening as well. For a wheelchair user, like some of the challenges that come into play day in and day out. And we always lived life to the fullest. I never felt like we missed out on anything. People were always helpful and accommodating, but would it have helped to know ahead of time how large a stall was before we got there? Absolutely. And so Jessica is another huge inspiration behind Ableise. Unfortunately, Jessica passed away about 7 years ago as a result of her muscular dystrophy. And but so much of what I do is in honor of her and her life here on Earth. And probably her passing is the thing that finally did give me the courage to pursue this dream, because it was something that she was very supportive of. So yeah, that's my story on why Ableise exists. I worked my way through the schools. In the meantime, I was a teacher consultant, an assistive technology coordinator, and then also an assistant principal for my last 3 years.
Okay,
And then in 2017, Ableized was born.
that's so cool. So I think now might be a good time to play some media that you brought us that gives us even more of a glance at who you guys are, and then we'll talk on the other side of it and answer a few more questions. So let's roll that video.
Did you know that 26% of adults in the United States have some type of disability? And that people of all abilities are almost 50% more likely to visit a location with a 360-degree virtual tour versus a business without a tour? As business owners, it's our responsibility to make customers and visitors feel comfortable and empowered when they walk through our door. You have the opportunity to join an exciting national movement in accessibility by joining businesses all over the United States as an Ableized accessible location by adding a 360-degree virtual tour of your beautiful space. Ableise is a Michigan-based business working to create inclusive communities on a national scale through the use of 360 virtual tours of public spaces. Virtual tours provide an opportunity for users to explore a location while bringing public spaces to life on their screen, tablet, and social media. This is a simple and motivating method of presenting information. This technology will decrease anxiety by providing a predictable visual navigation of various community locations. Ableise started off in Lansing, Michigan, and is now proudly providing services in all 50 states. From working with Ableise, you'll benefit from virtual tour. You own the rights to your virtual tour for use on your own website, QR code and window decal, which points directly to your virtual tour using your own QR code, which is included on your window decal. Promotion. Ableise will consistently promote your business on our website, newsletter, and social media as #Ableise accessible for all people.
That's a great overview, Megan. And I think that it answers a lot of my questions that I had. When we were talking about the fear of the unknown, when you have a disability and you're going out into the communities, it's all that. It's very stressful and anxious when you can't find parking or you can't find the wheelchair entrance to a building, where the elevators are. Awesome to know that that could be all mapped out for you, and doing some of that work and alleviating some of the stressors. I can't imagine doing it with a learning disability or any other disability that can get in the way of these experiences. So does Ableise cost the client that is going to use it? Like, let's say I'm going somewhere and I go to your website and put in a destination, et cetera. Maybe take us through the steps of how it would work and if it's a cost.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. And the answer is no, there's not a cost. That is something I've been very passionate about right from the get-go. As somebody that comes out of the education world, teachers have, these big, great ideas and this little itty bitty budget. And same for families. I wouldn't want a family to be limited on what they can experience based on if they can afford the app or afford the website or afford to access the information. So Ableise is free to access and will always be free to access, either on our website, which is ableized.org, or we also have an app where people can either type in a location that they'd like to visit, or they can maybe type in an industry that they're interested in. So if a person is looking for a restaurant in a particular area, they can kind of break it down by an industry and find places that have virtual tours that we partner with in their area.
Okay. So I think there are two, from what I understand, there are two sides. You have your clients with disabilities that are navigating their trips, and then you have businesses that you approach. And so it's sort of this two-pronged vision or mission that I see. And I also see that working with organizations and companies, et cetera, you're really doing disability awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope that that's true. And also working with photographers too, I feel like it's bringing up awareness to photographers too, because virtual tours have been used in the marketing world for over a decade now. Businesses have been using that for their website to market their business. But typically no one thinks to include their restroom because, you know, they're not thinking this is going to be a selling point for someone to come into my business. But as we are now kind of coming into the picture, photographers are starting to understand also why that's important, and businesses are starting to understand why that's important to include that type of information. So when we provide the tours, we go into the restrooms, we show the accessible stalls, but then we also have, we work with photographers that maybe already have existing tours, and we'll add those to our database as well. So yes, we work with the businesses are technically our paying customers. So we are either providing them a virtual tour and all the marketing perks that go along with Ableise, or we are, like I said, using an existing virtual tour and adding it to our database. And then it's free for the users.
Okay. So how do you approach a business from the get-go on getting them involved with Ableise and getting them to, you know, consent to cameras in their building, et cetera? And have you run into any pushback, and why? Like organizations that have said, no, we're not interested.
Yeah, not a lot of pushback really. Businesses have been, but interesting, that's a really interesting question, because it took me a minute to understand the business world coming from the education world. You know, I started Ableise and I was just bright-eyed and excited to make a difference in the world. And so I was walking into businesses and I was saying, look, I have this thing, it's going to help your business, it's going to help people access your business that have different abilities. And, you know, I would talk about all the perks and all the stats, and everyone was very responsive and kind, certainly. But at the end of the day, they said, well, we don't really have necessarily like a budget that fits this. I'm not really sure where to put this. And so it took me some time to realize that I really had to make businesses understand how this is going to help them grow their business. Okay. So, you know, back to the statistic in the video, you know, 1 in 4 adults in the US has some form of disability. So if you're thinking about growing your business and attracting people into your business, knowing that 1 in 4 people could be impacted by having a virtual tour is a really powerful statistic. And so, yeah, it's been a really exciting journey all around.
I would imagine that maybe a business or, you know, an office complex might give you pushback because all of a sudden they're thinking, I don't know if we're compliant with the ADA. I don't know if we, you know, have enough parking spaces. I don't know if our elevator is big enough, if we have an accessible stall in the bathroom or the right number of stalls. So have you heard any of that, concerns from organizations that think they might not be as compliant as they should be?
That's another great question, because we are really clear in saying that Ableise is not a rating or a judging or compliance tool. It's a tool of empowerment. It's intended to help people access their community with comfort and ease. So we are not measuring anything. We are not judging anything. It is literally information to help people access their community. And so by being able to, so someone that uses a wheelchair might be looking at the restroom. Somebody with PTSD might be looking for the exits. Someone on the spectrum might be looking for something completely different. And even more things have come up than I even anticipated, such as we did some market research not too long ago, and I had several responses. People of size, one wanting to know if restaurants had chairs with armrests because that was less comfortable if there were armrests on all the chairs, or if there were a lot of booths. Someone
Wow.
of size would prefer a seat that doesn't have armrests on it to be more comfortable. And so, that was never even in the realm of, thought for me. But, if it's helping people of any ability, we are here for it.
Yeah, you bring up a good point about the restaurants and the seats and probably movie theaters, et cetera. One of my, using a wheelchair, one of my biggest pet peeves or frustrations is getting somewhere and all the tables are tall, all the tall tables with the bar stools, and it's pretty awkward to have the people you come with sitting around on these bar stools, and you're sliding up to it and your chin is at the tabletop. And so I've done some disability awareness, if you will, by pointing out, look, you have all tall tables, you're missing a group of people.
Yeah.
Would you consider putting in some low tables? Is that something that you guys have looked at?
So we don't give any type of recommendation to businesses,
No.
although we do have, so in our proposal, so if a business was to say that they would like a quote or a proposal, in our proposal it does say, this is not our role. We are not rating or judging accessibility. However, if you'd like to have more information about accessibility edits, we do have a lot of resources in our toolbox.
Okay.
So we know of several organizations that will do that type of audit, but that's just not the role that we're playing.
Sure. Yeah. I imagine that really helps in your marketing and sales to put them at ease that these are the things we are not. These are the things that we are not setting out to do. Tell me, you mentioned something about Ableized Accessible City. That sounds like it's a new initiative or fairly new.
It is. This is something I'm so excited and passionate about. So if you were to go onto our website right now and look at our map of the US and beyond, you would see pockets of places that have a lot of virtual tours. So there are some cities that do have a lot of virtual tours, and it's a useful tool in those areas. But then you might look at a place like Washington or Oregon and only see one or two in the entire state. And so, it's not really that useful of a tool if you're visiting one of those states that only has one virtual tour. And so we started an Ableized Accessible City initiative. And so what that is a city that has a minimum of five lodging virtual tours, 5 dining virtual tours, and 5 attraction virtual tours. So people know they can eat, stay, and play and see at least 5, 5, and 5.
Very
So
cool.
yeah, we're working with conventions and visitors bureaus or destination marketing organizations for those cities. So those marketing organizations that are working to attract visitors to their cities. And it's really getting a lot of positive attention. Lansing is the first Ableized Accessible City in existence. So very, very proud to be here in Lansing with a community that has been so supportive. We have almost 100 virtual tours here in the Lansing area. So, and then Mesa, Arizona is also an Ableized Accessible City. And then we've also partnered with Pure Michigan to create more Ableized Accessible Cities in the state as well. And so we have a lot of those in the works right now. I'm really excited to launch that.
And we have such an awesome state here in Michigan for, the work is, what I'm gathering is the work is never done for Ableized. You could, work on this in perpetuity and still not reach, enough businesses. But this is wonderful. It warms my heart that Lansing, my hometown, is sort of the leader in demonstrating how Ableized works and the successes, et cetera. What was your first international tour that you started?
Yeah, we have a couple tours in the UK. They are both hotels. And we actually created this really great partnership with an organization in the UK. It's a couple. The gentleman is on the spectrum and His partner she's a wheelchair user. And so they have an amazing organization where they travel around the UK and will kind of assess places and blog about them, or assess accessibility types of like accommodations and write blog posts about it. So they're kind of marketing for accessibility, and they're influencers for accessibility in the UK. And so we sent them a camera and said, hey, if you're already out in these places, how about you create some virtual tours for us in those places so that we can, continue to show people, what they can access and what they can expect when they go places. So yeah, we have a couple in the UK and excited to continue expanding internationally.
That's so cool. As soon as you do something in Ireland, I'll be your first client that takes advantage of that. Because I'd love to travel and I have all these trips in mind, but it's sort of seems insurmountable sometimes on all the information I need to gather. I was mentioning to you earlier, not only does Ableise, prepare you for these things, for the things you can do, but it sounds like it's sort of by process of elimination tells you what you can't do, what you won't be able to do, but you can do this. And that's been my barrier to traveling outside of the United States, just the unknown. So I think it's wonderful. So moving forward, is this Accessible City your next frontier that you're covering? Kind of give us a little bit about moving forward. What are your goals?
Yeah, I think so. I think this has been a really great path to make sure that we are including a lot of different destinations in a comprehensive enough way to, like you said, make it useful. Long term, I would love this to be something that is, I don't want to say required, but ADA has been amazing and has created so many gains in accessibility and accessible places and accessible opportunities. But a lot of it is for someone with a physical disability, and we don't really have accommodations for people with invisible disabilities. And I do believe that this is something that serves both, but we don't have, like I said, any mandates or accommodations that are required for someone that has an invisible disability. And so I guess one of my long-term hopes is that Ableise can be kind of that groundbreaking tool that helps people access their community. One of the other statistics out there right now, the most recent CDC statistic for autism is that 1 in 44 children is now diagnosed with autism. And so that means in 18 years, 1 in 44 adults is going to be on the spectrum. And so we have to start planning for that. We have to start making accommodations available, or nobody's going to leave their house. So, I really want, that's one of my long-term goals is that this is something that really has an impact on the world, the entire world.
Yeah, that's very cool. My mind is just kind of racing on more questions and getting involved, et cetera. But before we go, I would like you to tell us an example or two on just a success that has stuck with you and has told you, this is why I did this.
Yeah, though that's a great question. We have had so many great testimonials over the years, but one that actually stands out for me was right before Ableise launched. So in 2017, we kind of started creating Ableise, and early in the year of 2017. It actually launched in August, so we're coming up on our 5-year anniversary in a couple of weeks. Yes, so very proud of all that we've done in 5 years. But during that time, it was the weekend before the launch of Ableise. So Jessica, who I mentioned earlier, her brother also has muscular dystrophy and uses a wheelchair to navigate life, and is also one of my closest friends. And he lived on the east side of the state, but was traveling to the west side of the state. And so my friend and I went and met him for lunch. And we had lunch at this amazing place, Boatworks in Holland, Michigan. It was very accessible. It was very accommodating. It was wonderful. And it's right on the water. And so Joe, my friend, said, I would like to go see the water. I don't necessarily need to touch the water, just want to see the water over here. And so we were like, okay, well, we'll take you. We'll go see the water. And so we ended up going to 4 different beaches before we found one that we could get to the water for him to see. And I will say the state park would have been accessible, but the line was so long that we couldn't get into the state park. Okay. So, and some of the other parks were just not accessible. So, I just thought, like, this is why we're doing this, so that people don't have to go to 4 beaches before we find one where he can just see the water. Right. And we ended up taking this like 1.5 mile path to get to the water, and we did see it, and it was beautiful, and it was worth it. And we, again, just always make the best of life. And so, but that's why that was one of those, like, just affirming moments of this is why we're doing this.
Yeah, and I might need to know which beach that was, since I live over here on that side of the state.
Okay.
So I can't believe it's been 5 years since I met you in downtown Lansing.
I know.
Is that how the math works out? It was about 5 years ago?
It's pretty close. That that could have been maybe coming up on our 1-year anniversary. Okay. But it was very close.
Okay. Well, this is all, we could talk forever about Ableise and how it benefits. You've got like these 3 prongs where you've got your clients and you've got your businesses and you've got the disability awareness aspect, and you've got photographers that you, it sounds like, subcontract with. And it's really an exciting endeavor and initiative that you're doing right now. And we look forward to really watching you grow. And if someone wants to get a tour or they want to get involved in any way, what's the best way to do that with you?
Yeah, probably our website. So there's a contact page on our website, which has a direct email that goes right to us. The website is ableized.org. So it's ABLEEYES.org. And yeah, we're very responsive and always excited to find more businesses that want to become Ableized accessible.
Well, it's going to be much less than 5 years in between now and the time I see you again or talk to you again. But we wish you nothing but success. We love the concept, and I'm glad that we could highlight it here on Ann Arbor Inclusive. And to our viewers, thank you for tuning in and learning new opportunities, and we'll keep watching Ableise. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Ann Arbor Inclusive.